A Rainy Night in a 14th Century Village, Part 1. The First Drops of Rain, 0 minutes to 5 minutes. Tonight, there is no hurry, no loud voices, no urgent footsteps, only the quiet beginning of rain. Before we enter the village, before the lanterns glow, before the doors close for the night, let us pause. Imagine yourself lying somewhere warm, perhaps beneath a thick wool blanket, perhaps near a small fire that has almost burned down to embers. The air is cool, but not cold, comfortable, gentle, and outside, the sky has finally given in. The first drop of rain falls softly against the earth, then another, and another, not a storm, not yet, just a steady rhythm, beginning to form. You can almost hear it now, a soft tapping, on wooden rooftops, on loose straw thatch, on quiet stone paths that have seen many years. The rain does not rush, it has nowhere else to be. It falls with patience, with calm certainty, as if it knows the village is ready for sleep. In the distance, beyond the low rolling hills, dark clouds move slowly across the night sky. There is no lightning, no dramatic thunder, only the deep, comforting hush of water meeting earth. The soil begins to soften, the dry dust of the day disappears, a faint scent rises into the cool air. Wet earth, rich, dark, familiar. It is the smell of fields that have worked hard, of crops that have bent beneath the sun, of long days now finally finished. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And far away, almost hidden by distance, a church bell sounds once, low, gentle, not an alarm, not a warning, simply a reminder that evening has settled. The sound drifts through the damp air, over small cottages, over quiet barns, over narrow winding paths. Then it fades, and again, there is only rain. If you listen closely, you might hear the way it touches different surfaces. On wood, it is hollow and soft. On stone, it is light and sharp. On straw roofs, it is muted, like distant whispering. Some drops slide from rooftop edges, gathering together, forming tiny streams that fall into waiting puddles below. The puddles begin small, shallow mirrors forming an uneven ground. They reflect faint lantern light from inside homes, golden flickers in dark water. The village itself remains calm. No one runs for shelter. No one shouts. This is not unexpected rain. It is the kind that arrives quietly and stays a while. Inside one cottage, a wooden shutter creaks softly as it is adjusted. Not slammed, not forced, just nudged gently closed to keep the cool mist outside. A faint line of warm light slips through a narrow crack. It stretches across the wet ground, then shimmers as raindrops disturb its reflection. And still, the rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. You may begin to notice something else now. The rhythm. It is not perfectly even. Some drops fall together, some pause, some scatter lightly across stone. Yet somehow, it all blends into one continuous sound, a natural lullaby, simple, reassuring, safe. There is comfort in knowing that this rain has fallen many times before, over generations, over different villagers who have stood in these same doorways, over children who once laughed in these same streets, over fields that have grown and rested again and again. The rain remembers, and tonight it falls once more, gently, without urgency, without end. Take a slow breath now, in, as the rain settles over rooftops, and out, as it sinks into dark soil. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be solved. There is only this quiet moment, this steady sound, this medieval village, slowly wrapping itself in evening rain. And the rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The rain has found its rhythm now. It no longer begins. It no longer announces itself. It simply exists, falling in a quiet curtain across the village, softening edges, blurring sharp corners, turning hard ground into dark, shining earth. From above, if you could see the village from the sky, you would notice how the rooftops glisten faintly in the night. Thatched straw, once pale and dry, is now heavy with water, each strand darker than before, each roof gently sagging under the comfortable weight of rain. Small rivulets gather along the edges. They drip slowly, patiently, forming a steady pattern. Drip, pause, drip, drip, pause, drip. The rhythm blends into the larger sound of rainfall. Nothing interrupts it. No sudden movement, no raised voices, only the deepening quiet of evening. Smoke still curls from a few chimneys, though it rises more slowly now. The rain presses it downward, flattening it gently against the night air. The scent of wet wood and faint ash lingers. Somewhere inside one of those cottages a fire shifts softly. A log settles, a small pop, not loud, not sharp, just enough to remind you that warmth exists inside these stone walls. The windows glow dimly, not bright, not inviting, simply steady. Behind one pane of cloudy glass a shadow passes slowly, perhaps someone moving from hearth to table, perhaps someone placing a cup down. The movement is unhurried. There's no rush tonight. The rain has given everyone permission to slow down. Outside, the narrow dirt paths between cottages have turned soft and uneven. Footprints from earlier in the day begin to lose their shape. The rain fills them gently, rounding the edges, erasing sharp lines. It is as if the day itself is being washed away. A wooden cart stands abandoned beside a fence. Its wheels are caked in drying mud. Now the rain loosens it slowly. Tiny streams slide down the spokes. Water gathers in the curved bed of the cart before spilling over the side. The leather straps hanging from its frame sway slightly in the faint breeze, not swinging wildly, just shifting, back and forth, and through it all. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Near the edge of the village, where the last cottage meets open field, the crops bow gently beneath the weight of water. Wheat stalks lean together. Their dry whisper from earlier in the evening has softened into silence. Beyond them, the fields stretch into darkness. The rain touches them too, every inch, every row, patiently. The fence posts along the field glisten faintly. Water runs down their rough surfaces, following grooves carved by years of wind and sun. The wood drinks what it can. The rest falls to earth. Somewhere inside a small barn, a cow shifts its weight. A slow exhale. Warm breath meeting cool air. The sound is barely noticeable beneath the steady rainfall, but it is there, alive, gentle, present. The barn door remains closed, yet tiny droplets slip through cracks in the wood. They gather along the inner beam before falling softly into hay below. Tap, 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 a quieter rhythm within the larger one. Even the animals seem calmer tonight. No restless movement, no anxious calls, just the slow acceptance of rain. Further into the village centre, a narrow stone well stands quietly, its circular walls slick with water. Drops slide down the rope that hangs forgotten for the evening. The bucket at the end sways slightly, not enough to creak, just enough to move. Lantern light from a nearby window touches the wet stones of the well. Golden reflections tremble in tiny puddles below. The light wavers as rain disturbs the surface, then steadies again, then wavers. The night deepens, not suddenly, not dramatically, just gradually, as if darkness itself is settling more comfortably into place. Clouds continue their slow drift above, unseen but felt. The air grows cooler, fresher. The scent of rain grows richer, more complete, and in the distance, so faint it almost blends into imagination, there is a soft roll of thunder, far away, not sharp, not alarming, just a reminder that the sky is vast, and patient, and calm. The thunder fades quickly, leaving only rain once more. The village does not react. No doors open, no heads turn. This is not a storm to fear. It is a storm to sleep beneath. A storm that wraps around stone walls and wooden beams like a thick wool cloak. Protective, consistent, steady. If you listen now, you may begin to notice that the rain feels closer, not louder, just closer, as if it surrounds you completely, above, around, beyond. The world outside the village begins to disappear into mist. The road leading away from the cottages becomes less defined. Edges blur, shapes soften, distance fades. It is as though the village exists alone tonight, held gently inside a circle of falling rain. And still, the rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Take another slow breath, in, as the rooftops glisten quietly, and out, as the puddles deepen along the path. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to see, only this medieval village settling more deeply into evening, more deeply into quiet, more deeply into sleep, and the rain continues to fall. The rain has now fully settled over the land. It no longer feels new, it feels established, as though it has always been here. If you were standing on the low hill just beyond the village, you would see the cottages gathered closely together, their shapes softened by mist. The rooftops form uneven lines against the dark sky. Some lean slightly, some dip lower than others. None are perfect, and yet together they feel complete. A small cluster of warm light glows faintly from scattered windows, not bright enough to chase away the darkness, just enough to remind the night that life rests within these walls. The rain drapes itself over everything, like a thin veil. It smooths sharp edges. It dulls harsh lines. Even the stone walls around the village perimeter appear gentler beneath the steady fall of water. The path leading into the village has turned dark and glossy. Earlier it was dusty and pale. Now it reflects faint shapes. Lantern light trembles in its surface, then disappears as ripples disturb the puddles. The rain does not change direction. It does not hesitate. It simply continues, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A wooden gate at the village entrance rests slightly ajar. Its iron hinges glisten with moisture. Every so often a drop gathers at the edge and falls quietly to the ground below. The fields surrounding the village have become a deep, muted grey beneath the clouds. Fences stretch across them in uneven lines, posts leaning slightly after years of weather. Tonight they stand quietly, accepting the rain without protest. Beyond the fields the forest begins. Tall, dark shapes of oak and ash trees rise like silent guardians. Their leaves catch the rain first, soft pattering high above. Then the water travels downward from leaf to branch to trunk, from trunk to earth. The sound from the forest is different, deeper, layered, almost like distant applause heard through thick walls, but softer, always softer. The village remains still. No smoke rises now from most chimneys. The fires inside have been lowered. Only faint embers glow within hearths. The night grows heavier, but not uncomfortable, just settled. The rain wraps around the village like a protective blanket, holding warmth inside, keeping the outside world at a distance. A lone lantern hangs from a wooden post near the centre of the village square. Its flame flickers behind cloudy glass. The wind nudges it gently, back and forth, back and forth. Its glow touches the wet cobblestones beneath it. Each stone reflects a fragment of light. Broken gold scattered across black water. Then a drop falls into the puddle below. The reflection shivers, then steadies again. Everything tonight moves slowly. Even time itself seems to stretch. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. If you listen carefully, you might hear the faint sound of water running along shallow grooves cut naturally into the earth. Tiny streams forming between cottages. They do not rush, they do not flood, they simply move, guided by gravity, guided by patience. The sky above remains thick with clouds. No stars are visible, no moonlight reaches the ground. Yet the darkness does not feel empty, it feels full, full of quiet, full of rest, full of rain. Somewhere inside a distant cottage, a chair scrapes lightly against a wooden floor. A door latch settles into place, then stillness again. No conversation drifts into the night. No laughter echoes down the path. The village has surrendered itself to the rhythm of rainfall, and the rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Take another slow breath. Imagine standing on that hill, looking down at this small gathering of homes, each one holding someone warm, each one wrapped safely beneath thatched roofs and wooden beams. The rain touches every roof equally, every wall, every window. No cottage is forgotten, no corner remains dry. The entire village exists inside this gentle curtain of water, and far beyond the hill, beyond the forest, beyond the fields, the world continues unseen. But tonight, it feels very far away. Here, there is only this quiet medieval village, this steady rainfall, this soft, unbroken calm, and the rain continues to fall. The hill behind you grows quiet as you begin to imagine stepping a little closer to the village. Not quickly, not with urgency, just a slow shift in perspective. The cottages that once seemed like small shapes in the distance now appear clearer. You can see the uneven stones in their walls. You can see where wood has darkened over time, where rain has left its mark year after year. The path beneath your feet feels softer now, damp earth giving slightly with each imagined step. Not sinking deeply, just yielding gently. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. As you approach the village square, the lone lantern you noticed before grows brighter, not brighter in strength, just brighter in presence. Its glow stretches farther across the wet cobblestones. The stones themselves are irregular, some rounder, some flatter, some cracked slightly from years of the use. Rainwater gathers in the shallow dips between them, tiny reflective pools forming natural patterns. When drops strike the surface, they create small expanding circles, one ring touching another, then fading, then beginning again. The rhythm never breaks. Drip, ripple, stillness, drip, ripple, stillness. A wooden bench sits beneath the lantern, empty, its surface glistening with moisture, the grain of the wood more visible now that it is wet. Small lines and grooves holding droplets like tiny beads of glass. No one sits there tonight. The rain has claimed it for now. Across the square, a narrow alley stretches between two cottages. It is darker there. Lantern light does not fully reach inside, but you can hear the rain echo differently in that space, more enclosed, more focused. Water slides down the slanted roof edges and falls in steady lines near the alley entrance, creating a soft curtain. Beyond the alley, another small lantern flickers behind a shuttered window. Its light pulses faintly through the thin wood slats, a warm reminder that someone inside has not yet gone to sleep. Perhaps they sit near a hearth. Perhaps they stir a small pot of broth. Perhaps they simply watch the rain in silence. There is comfort in not knowing. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A wooden sign hangs above a nearby doorway, its paint faded, its carved letters worn smooth by time. The rain traces those letters gently, following each groove, then dripping from the lower edge in quiet drops. The sign sways almost imperceptibly, not enough to creak loudly, just enough to move, back and forth, back and forth. Somewhere near the edge of the square, a barrel collects rainwater. It was left uncovered earlier in the day. Now it fills gradually, each drop landing with a hollow tone inside. Plink, plink, plink. A different sound from the rooftops. A deeper note, still soft, still unhurried. A stray cat slips quietly along the wall of a cottage, its fur slightly damp, its movements careful but calm. It pauses beneath an overhang where the rain cannot reach fully, then curls into itself, still. Even the animals accept the rain tonight. There is no resistance, no impatience, only quiet adjustment. The air feels cooler here in the square. Open space allows the breeze to pass gently through. It nudges the lantern flame again. The glass fogs slightly from the difference in warmth inside and coolness outside. Condensation gathers, then slowly slides downward. Everything moves slowly tonight. Even water sliding down glass feels like an event. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. If you stand still for a moment in this square, you may begin to feel something subtle, a sense that the village is breathing, not loudly, not visibly, but gently. Cottages inhale warmth from their hearths, then exhale faint curls of smoke that disappear quickly in the rain. The square absorbs water, then releases it into narrow channels along the edges. Even the lantern seems to breathe, its flame shrinking slightly, then growing, then shrinking again, steady, reliable. The night deepens further, clouds remain thick overhead, but the darkness now feels complete, fully settled. No transition left to happen. This is the night. This is the rain. This is the village as it rests, and the rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Take another slow breath. Imagine standing beneath the lantern, hearing only rainfall and distant shifting wood. No voices, no demands, no tomorrow yet. Only this moment, only this square, only the gentle, endless sound of rain upon stone. From the centre of the square, your attention drifts gently toward the quieter edges of the village, away from the lantern, away from the open space, into the narrower streets where cottages sit closer together. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. These side paths are softer now, less stone, more earth. Each step would sink just slightly, leaving a shallow imprint that would soon be filled by water. The walls here lean inward just a little, not enough to touch, but close enough to create a sense of shelter. Rain falls between them in thin silver lines. Some droplets catch briefly on wooden beams before slipping downward. Some gather along roof edges until their weight becomes too much. Then they fall, softly, without sound beyond a quiet tap against the ground. A shutter on one cottage window remains slightly open, not wide, just enough for warm light to escape. The glow stretches across the wet path outside and trembles as rain disturbs its reflection. Inside, a faint silhouette moves slowly, perhaps someone folding cloth, perhaps someone placing another piece of wood onto dying embers. No hurry, no sharp movement, just quiet routine. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Further down the narrow path, a woven basket rests beneath a small overhang. It was left there earlier in the evening. Now its rim glistens with collected droplets. Water slides down the woven strands, following invisible paths between fibres, then dripping quietly to the ground. Drip, pause, drip. The sound is almost lost within the larger rhythm of rain, but it exists. Small sounds within a greater one. Near the corner where two cottages meet, a narrow channel has formed in the earth. Rainwater flows gently through it, not rushing, not splashing, just moving, carrying tiny bits of loosened soil along with it. The water finds its way toward the lower edge of the village, guided only by gravity, guided only by patience, and always. The rain continues to fall. A wooden door at the end of the lane shifts slightly as wind brushes against it. Not enough to open. Just enough to remind you that the world is not frozen. It is simply slower. Inside that cottage, a faint glow flickers against the cracks of the doorframe, then steadies, then flickers again. The hearth within is nearly asleep. Only embers remain, red, soft, breathing faint warmth into the room. A clay pot rests near those embers. Steam no longer rises from it. Its contents cooling slowly, just like the air outside. The night has reached a deeper stillness now. Earlier there were small movements, small adjustments. Now even those begin to fade. The rain becomes the main presence, the only steady voice. It touches rooftops, it touches fences, it touches wooden doors and stone wells and empty benches. It touches fields beyond the village. It touches trees at the forest's edge. It touches every surface equally. No preference, no urgency, only consistency. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. If you listen very closely now, you may notice something else. The village sounds softer than before, as if the rain has absorbed stray noise, as if it has wrapped each cottage in gentle silence. The narrow streets feel protected, held, almost hidden from the wider world. No travellers approach tonight. No carts roll through the gate. No footsteps disturb the mud. The village belongs only to itself and to the rain. A faint breeze passes through once more. It does not howl. It does not whistle sharply. It simply moves, carrying the scent of wet wood and damp earth and distant fields. Then it fades, leaving stillness behind. The darkness is now complete, not heavy, not threatening, just full of rest, full of quiet, full of rain. And so the village settles even deeper into the night. Doors closed, shutters fastened, lanterns dimmed, fires reduced to soft embers, all beneath a sky that gives steadily, patiently, endlessly. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Take one more slow breath. Imagine standing in that narrow street, listening, feeling the cool mist in the air, watching reflections tremble in shallow puddles. There is nothing left to do here, nothing left to prepare. The village has surrendered to sleep, and soon. We will step toward the warm glow of one final light still burning. The baker has not yet finished for the night, but for now. The rain continues to fall, the baker closing his shop. Part 1. While most of the village is settled into quiet, one small light still burns a little brighter than the rest. It glows from a low window near the edge of the square, soft gold against the wet night. Inside, the baker moves slowly, not rushed, not tired in a heavy way, just calm and deliberate. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The wooden door of the bakery is closed now. A simple iron latch rests in place. Outside, the painted sign above it darkens beneath steady rain, but inside, warmth lingers. The oven, built from thick stone and clay, still holds the memory of fire. Earlier, flames danced high inside its arched mouth. Now only embers glow within, deep orange, soft red, breathing gentle heat into the room. The baker stands beside a wide wooden table. Its surface is dusted lightly with flour, white powder catching lantern light. He brushes his hands together slowly. Flour falls in a soft cloud, settling like pale snow against darker wood. There is no customer waiting, no voice calling from the door, only the quiet routine of closing. The rain taps faintly against the small window panes, muted here, distant, but steady, always steady. The baker lifts a round loaf from the cooling rack. It has already rested for hours, its crust firm, its surface golden brown, now deepened in shadow. He presses it gently with his thumb, testing, feeling. The bread does not need testing, but habit guides his hand. A soft, hollow sound answers him. Satisfied, he nods slightly, not dramatically, just a small motion. The loaf joins the others inside a woven basket lined with cloth. He folds the fabric over them carefully, protecting warmth that has already begun to fade. The oven gives a faint crackle, a tiny shift of coal settling inward. The baker moves toward it slowly, each step measured, boots brushing lightly across the wooden floor. He kneels beside the oven mouth. The warmth touches his face, not hot, just comforting. He uses a long iron rod to pull remaining embers closer together. The motion is slow and smooth, metal scraping softly against stone. Shh, scrape, shh, scrape. A gentle sound, rhythmic, almost like breathing. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A kettle rests near the side of the oven. Earlier it held warm water for dough. Now only a little remains. He lifts it carefully, the metal handle warm but not burning. He pours the last of the water into a wooden bucket nearby. The sound is soft, a hollow pour, then silence. The bucket will be used tomorrow. There is always tomorrow, but not yet. Tonight is for closing, for finishing, for quiet. The baker takes a cloth and begins wiping the table. Long strokes across the grain of the wood. Flour gathers in small white lines, then disappears into the fabric. He moves methodically, one end of the table, then the other. No rush, no skipped corner. The lantern hanging from a ceiling beam sways faintly, perhaps from his movement, perhaps from the wind outside. Its light stretches shadows across the walls, shadows of shelves lined with clay jars, shadows of hanging tools, shadows of stacked wooden trays now empty. Earlier in the day, this room smelled of yeast and rising dough, of heat and effort, of customers speaking in low voices. Now it smells of warm crust, cooling embers, and faint traces of flour in the air. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. He pauses for a moment, not because he must, but because stillness feels natural. He rests his hands on the edge of the table, breath steady, shoulders relaxed, listening. The bakery is quiet except for two sounds, the faint shift of embers and the distant rhythm of rain. Nothing else intrudes, no thought presses urgently forward, no task remains undone. The day has ended gently. He walks toward the window. Small droplets trail down the outside glass. Lantern light reflects in each one, tiny golden lines sliding downward. He watches them for a moment, not counting, not measuring, just watching. Outside, the square is empty. The lantern in its centre still glows faintly. Reflections shimmer across wet stone. The rain connects everything, roof to ground, window to path, square to field, all under the same steady fall. The baker lowers the curtain slowly, not to shut the world out, just to mark the end of work. The fabric falls softly into place. Inside grows dimmer, warmer, quieter, and still. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The curtain now rests gently across the window. The golden light inside the bakery softens. Shadows grow longer along the wooden beams overhead. Outside, the rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Inside, the baker turns back toward his work table. There is very little left to do, but he moves as though time is generous, because tonight it is. He reaches for a large clay jar resting on the lower shelf. Its surface is cool beneath his hands. The jar once held fresh flour earlier in the day. Now it is nearly empty. He lifts the lid slowly. A faint scent rises. Dry grain, clean and simple. He tips the jar gently to settle the remaining flour at its base. The sound inside is soft, a quiet shifting, like sand settling after a small wave. He places the lid back carefully. Tomorrow more flour will be ground at the mill. Tomorrow dough will rise again. But tonight the jar rests. He walks toward the cooling racks once more. Several loaves remain. Their crusts firm now. He brushes a finger lightly across one, feeling its texture. Rough, but warm at the centre. He lifts it slightly closer to his ear. Not because he expects a sound, just because habit guides him. He taps the bottom gently. A hollow note answers him, deep and soft. He nods again, almost invisibly. Satisfied. The bread is good. The day's labour was steady. And now it is finished. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. He takes the woven basket filled with loaves and carries it toward the back room. His footsteps are even, measured, each step pressing lightly into the worn wooden boards. The boards respond with a faint creak, not sharp, not disruptive, just the quiet voice of old wood adjusting to weight. The back room is darker. Only a small oil lamp glows on a narrow shelf, its flame small, its light warm. He sets the basket down gently. The cloth covering the bread shifts slightly, then becomes still. He stands there for a moment, breathing in the scent of fresh crust and faint ash. The room feels smaller here, more enclosed, more intimate. The rain outside feels farther away, yet its rhythm remains present, always present. Returning to the main room, he kneels once more before the oven. The embers glow softer now, their colour fading from orange to deep red. He places a small iron cover across the opening, not fully sealing it, just enough to keep the remaining warmth inside. Metal touches stone with a quiet sound, firm but gentle. The heat will last a little longer this way, not for baking, just for comfort. He sits back on his heels, hands resting loosely on his knees, shoulders lowering, breath slow. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. In this moment there is no baker, no shop, no task. Only a man sitting beside quiet embers while rain brushes softly against stone outside. He listens, not for anything specific, just for the steady presence of night, the faint hum of warmth from the oven, the distant tapping of rain against the roof, the quiet pulse of his own breathing, in, out, in, out. Time stretches comfortably here. Nothing pulls it forward, nothing pushes it back. He reaches toward a wooden peg near the doorway. A simple apron hangs there, flour dust still clinging faintly to its folds. He lifts it slowly over his head, shakes it once. Soft white particles fall like pale mist to the floor. Then he folds the apron carefully. placing it over the peg again, ready for tomorrow, but untouched for now. The lantern above him flickers once more, its oil nearly spent. He walks toward it quietly, carefully pinches the wick slightly lower. The flame shrinks, not extinguished, just softer, just calmer. Shadows deepen along the walls. The shelves appear less defined. The edges of the room blur gently, and still. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. He moves to the door, places his hand against the wood, feeling the faint vibration of rain striking its outer surface. Small impacts, countless, yet none urgent. He slides the wooden bar across the door slowly. The beam settles into place. A dull, reassuring sound. The bakery is closed, warm, protected, wrapped in rain. He takes one last look around the room, at the empty table, at the resting racks, at the quiet oven. Nothing more to adjust, nothing forgotten. Only stillness remains, and beyond the walls. The village rests beneath the same steady sky. The rain does not stop. It does not slow. It simply continues. Patient, consistent, gentle. The baker turns toward the back room now, toward his small cot near the wall, toward sleep, and the rain continues to fall. The baker, closing his shop. Final part. The small cot in the back room waits quietly. Simple wooden frame, a mattress stuffed with straw. A thick wool blanket folded neatly at its edge. The baker moves toward it without haste. His boots rest beside the wall. He removes them slowly, one at a time, setting them carefully near the door. The wooden floor feels cool beneath his feet, not cold, just grounding. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. He lowers himself onto the cot. The straw inside shifts softly beneath his weight. A gentle rustle, then stillness. He pulls the wool blanket up over his chest, its texture rough but familiar. It holds the warmth gathered earlier from the oven. The small oil lamp on the shelf flickers faintly, its flame thin now, almost tired. The baker reaches toward it, pauses, listens. Outside rain brushes steadily against the roof, against the shutters, against the earth. The sound is constant, unbroken, safe. He lowers the wick just a little more. The flame shrinks again. The room dims. Shadows dissolve into one another. Edges soften. The ceiling beams fade into darkness. Only a faint amber glow remains near the shelf. His breathing slows, in, out, matching the rhythm of rain. There are no thoughts pressing forward, no plans to consider. Tomorrow's bread will rise when it rises. The mill will turn when it turns. For now there is only this, the warmth beneath the blanket, the quiet hum of fading embers beyond the wall, and the endless fall of rain. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The last ember inside the oven shifts softly, a tiny crackle, then settles. The warmth lingers just a little longer. Outside, water gathers along the bakery roof. Drops collect at the edge. They fall one by one into the puddle below. Tap, tap, tap. The puddle widens, reflecting nothing now but darkness. The square outside is nearly invisible. The lantern there has dimmed, its flame smaller, its glow weaker. The entire village breathes more slowly now. One by one, cottages surrender to sleep. And here, in this small bakery, the baker closes his eyes, not suddenly, not heavily, just gently. His breath deepens, the rise and fall of his chest steady and calm. The rain does not change, it does not grow louder, it does not fade. It remains exactly as it has been, patient, consistent, soft. The oil lamp finally gives a small flicker, then another, then it settles into a tiny glowing thread, and slowly, quietly, it fades. Darkness fills the room, But it is not empty. It is full of warmth, full of rest, full of rain. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry, and the bakery sleeps. The blacksmith finishes for the night. Part 1. While the baker sleeps beneath wool and fading warmth, another light still flickers at the far edge of the village. Not golden, not soft, but deeper, redder. A low glow from within the blacksmith's forge. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The forge stands slightly apart from the other cottages. Built of thick stone blocks, its roof slanted steeply to guide water away. Rain slides along the wooden beams overhead. It gathers at the edge, then falls in steady lines beside the doorway. Inside, the air feels different, warmer still, but heavier. The scent of iron lingers, charcoal, smoke that has settled into stone over many seasons. The fire inside the forge is no longer fierce. Its flames do not leap. They breathe low and steady, red coals glowing beneath a thin layer of grey ash. The blacksmith stands nearby, broad shoulders outlined by the glow, apron darkened by years of work. He holds a pair of iron tongs loosely in one hand, not gripping, just resting. The day's final piece of metal rests upon the anvil, a simple horseshoe, finished hours ago. It cools slowly in the damp air. Steam no longer rises from it, its heat fading quietly. The rain taps against the outer walls, the sound different here, softer on stone, sharper where it strikes metal tools hanging near the doorway, a faint ting now and then, almost like distant chimes. The blacksmith sets the tongs down upon the wooden bench. Metal touches wood with a low, solid sound. He wipes his hands on a folded cloth. Dark streaks mark the fabric. He does not rush the motion. He wipes each finger carefully, then the palms, then the back of his hands. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. He steps toward the forge, uses a long iron rod to shift the coals inward. The sound is familiar, a soft scrape, a gentle collapse of embers settling together. Tiny sparks rise briefly, then disappear, not wild, not bright, just momentary. He pauses to watch them fade. The forge no longer roars, it hums, low, steady, like distant thunder held inside stone walls. Outside, water gathers along the edge of the roof. It falls in heavier drops here, landing against a large iron bucket left beside the door. Plunk, plunk, plunk. The hollow tone echoes faintly within the workshop. The blacksmith listens for a moment, not measuring time, not counting, just listening. His breathing slows to match the rhythm around him. In, out, in, out. The anvil stands solid at the centre of the room, its surface worn smooth from years of shapen metal. Tonight it is silent. No hammer strikes, no ringing echo. Only the faint memory of sound held in its iron body. The blacksmith runs his palm lightly across it, feeling its coolness. Earlier it burned hot beneath hammer blows. Now it rests, just like the village. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Along one wall, tools hang in careful order. Hammers of different weights, chisels, files, each suspended from iron hooks. Water from the damp air clings lightly to their surfaces. A few droplets slide downward slowly, leaving thin silver trails along dark metal. The blacksmith moves toward the doorway. He pushes it open slightly. Cool night air slips inside. The scent of wet earth enters the forge. Steam rises faintly where damp air meets lingering warmth. Not dramatic, just a quiet merging of elements. He steps just beneath the overhang. Rain falls inches away from him, a steady curtain. Beyond it, the village appears dim. Lantern light in the square nearly gone now. Most windows dark. The baker sleeps. Others too. Only the forge remains awake for a few moments longer. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. He looks upward slightly, not fully into the sky, just enough to feel the cool mist brush his face. It settles along his brow, across his beard, tiny droplets forming and sliding downward. He closes his eyes briefly, breathing in the scent of rain, breathing out the warmth of the forge. Then he steps back inside. The door closes softly, the outer world muted again. Only the low glow of coals remains, and the steady, endless rhythm of rain upon stone. The blacksmith, forge, cooling in the rain, Part 2. The blacksmith stands still for a moment, not working, not moving, just listening. The rain taps against the open workshop door. It hits the stone threshold, slides across the packed earth floor near the entrance. The forge behind him glows softer now, no longer fierce, no longer roaring, just a deep red heart of heat. Breathing quietly, he steps closer. The warmth touches his face, not sharp anymore, gentle. He takes the long iron poker resting beside the forge. Slowly, carefully, he nudges the coals. They shift with a soft collapse. A few sparks rise, glow briefly, then disappear into the damp air. No rush, no urgency. Just the slow ending of a long day. Outside, thunder murmurs far in the distance. Not violent, just rolling, like a heavy cart crossing a wooden bridge somewhere beyond the fields. The blacksmith reaches for the water bucket. Rain has already filled it halfway. Tiny ripples dance across the surface as droplets fall from the roof edge. He lifts a small ladle, dips it into the water, and pours gently over the outer edge of the forge stones. Sss. Steam rises, white and soft, blending with the cool night air. The scent changes, hot stone meeting rainwater, iron meeting steam, earth meeting sky. He breathes it in, deep, slow. The forge light flickers once more, then settles into a dim orange glow. The heavy hammer rests on the anvil, its metal face still warm. Raindrops drift in from the doorway. One lands on the anvil's surface. Sss. A faint hiss. Then nothing. The sound disappears into the steady rhythm of rain. The blacksmith wipes his hands on a rough cloth. Black soot stains the fabric darker. His shoulders relax, the strength of the day slowly leaving his arms. The bellows beside the forge hang motionless, leather creaking softly as they cool. No more air will feed the fire tonight. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. He walks to the doorway, stands beneath the wooden awning, looks out at the village square. Water flows in thin streams between stones. A cart stands abandoned for the night, barrels covered with wet cloth. A lantern flickers somewhere far down the road, its light blurred by falling rain. He listens. No voices now, no horses, no metal striking metal, only rain, and distant thunder fading further away. Behind him, the forge dims again, the red glow shrinking from bright to ember, from ember to shadow. He steps back inside, takes one final look around the workshop. Tongs hung neatly on the wall, horseshoes stacked in pairs, iron tools lined carefully along a wooden beam, everything waiting for morning. He moves to the large wooden door, grasps its edge. The hinges groan softly as he pulls it closed. The rain sound softens instantly, becoming muffled, distant, protected. Only a thin strip of cool night air slips through the gap at the bottom. He slides the wooden bar into place. It settles with a dull, solid thud. Secure. Inside now the workshop is darker. Only the faintest glow remains from the dying forge. It pulses once, twice, then rests. The blacksmith sits on a low stool near the wall. breathing slow, hands resting on his knees, feeling the warmth fade from the room, not sad, not tired, just complete. Outside, the rain continues its endless rhythm, across rooftops, across fields, across the silent village. The forge finally releases its last visible glow, and becomes only warmth in stone. The blacksmith rises, walks toward the small back chamber where he will sleep, his boots heavy on the wooden floor, but unhurried. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry, and the workshop rests. The back chamber is small, stone walls, low ceiling beams darkened by years of smoke. A narrow wooden bed stands against the far wall, simple, strong, unadorned. The blacksmith pauses at the doorway, listens. The rain is softer here, muted through thick stone, like distant breathing. Behind him, in the main workshop, the forge gives one final quiet sound, a faint settling, as metal cools, as stone releases the last of its heat. He turns once more, walks back into the workshop slowly, not because he needs to, but because the day deserves a proper ending. The air feels cooler now, the warmth almost gone, only a memory lingering in the stones. He kneels beside the forge, places his large hand on the outer stone ring. It is still warm, but no longer hot, just enough to remind him of the fire that lived there. He closes his eyes for a moment, not in prayer, not in thought, just in stillness. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A single drop slips through a gap in the roof beam. It falls into the ash bed, soft, silent. The last ember shifts once. A faint red pulse appears, then fades, gone. The forge is dark now, completely dark. Only the memory of its glow remains in the room. The blacksmith stands, breathes in the cool night air, the smell of iron, wet earth, faint smoke. He moves to the doorway one last time, opens it slightly. Rain mist drifts in, touching his face, cooling his skin. The village square lies empty. Water flows gently between stones. The world feels washed clean. He closes the door again, slides the bar into place. This time there is no glow behind him, no flicker, no warmth, only quiet. He returns to the small back chamber, removes his heavy apron, sets it neatly over a wooden peg, boots placed side by side. He lowers himself onto the narrow bed. Wood creaks softly. Straw mattress shifts beneath him. He lies back, hands resting over his chest, the day's weight slowly dissolving. Outside, thunder has completely faded. Only rain remains, steady, endless, calm. The blacksmith's breathing deepens, slow, even, matching the rhythm of water against stone. No more sparks, no more hammer strikes, no more heat, only rest. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And in the darkness of the workshop the tools hang silent. The anvil cools, the forge sleeps, and the blacksmith sleeps with it. The manor rises above the village like a patient stone guardian. Its walls are thick, ancient, layered with years of rain, wind, and quiet endurance. Tonight water slides down those walls in slow silver paths, each drop catching faint torchlight before disappearing into darkness. The rain does not strike harshly. It brushes, it flows, it settles. At the base of the outer wall, moss drinks deeply. Small vines cling to the mortar between stones. They tremble softly beneath the steady fall. The wooden gate to the courtyard stands closed, iron bands across its surface dark with moisture. Rain gathers along the top beam, then spills over in steady streams. Beyond the gate, the courtyard lies open to the sky. Water pools between uneven stones. Thin rivers form and drift gently toward the drainage channel carved long ago. A well stands near the centre, its circular stone lip shining wet. A rope hangs still beside it, darkened by rain, heavy, unmoving. The stables along the far wall are quiet. Horses inside shift occasionally, a hoof scraping wood. A slow breath pushing warm air into the damp night. Steam rises faintly from their backs where rain had touched them earlier. Now even they grow still. Lanterns under the stable awning flicker weakly. Their flames lean sideways in the faint breeze. Reflections shimmer across puddles in the courtyard, distorted, wavering, like small worlds trembling. High above, narrow arrow-slit windows glow faintly from within, a warm amber against deep grey stone. But even those lights are dimming now, one by one. A guard walks slowly along the inner wall, boots heavy against wet stone, measured steps, unhurried. His cloak darkened by rain, hanging heavy at his shoulders. Water drips from its edge, tap, tap, tap. He pauses beneath the archway, looks out over the village below. Roofs glisten faintly, smoke long gone from chimneys. Only darkness and falling rain remain. Thunder rolls somewhere far beyond the hills, not sharp, not frightening, just distant, like a reminder of how wide the world truly is. The guard turns back, continues his quiet patrol. No words spoken, no need for them. The Anna has stood through greater storms than this. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Near the heavy wooden doors of the great hall, 2 torches burn in iron brackets. Their flames smaller now, weaker. Each gust of damp wind nearly bends them flat before they recover. Wax from a candle left in a small window alcove has softened and collapsed, its wick barely glowing. A thin thread of smoke rises, then fades. Inside the thick stone walls, warmth lingers faintly. Heat from earlier fires, from bodies gathered in the hall, from meals shared and conversations finished. But that warmth is fading, like embers cooling beneath the ash. Rainwater trickles along the grooves between courtyard stones. This sound blends with distant drumming on rooftops. The entire manor seems to breathe with the storm. Slow inhale, slow exhale. Nothing rushes, nothing resists, everything simply continues. Above the courtyard, a banner bearing the Lord's crest hangs limp and soaked, its colours darkened by rain. Occasionally a faint breeze lifts one corner, then it falls again, heavy, satisfied. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry, and the manor, strong and silent, waits for night to fully claim it. The great hall stretches long beneath dark oak beams. Massive timbers cross the ceiling overhead, blackened slightly from years of smoke. Tonight they hold only shadows. At the far end of the hall, the central hearth still glows, not bright, not lively, just a low cradle of red embers beneath settling logs. Flames no longer leap, they breathe, slowly. Occasionally a thin tongue of fire rises, curls around the edge of a log, then folds back into itself. The firelight moves gently across the stone walls, across long wooden tables arranged in rows. Earlier, those tables carried trenchers of roasted meat, heels of bread, bowls of stew steaming in candlelight. Now only crumbs remain. A wooden cup lies on its side. A thin line of watered ale is dried across the grain. A knife rests beside a plate, its blade dull in the dim glow. Benches sit empty, pulled slightly out of place, evidence of people who rose and left without ceremony. Near the high table, the Lord's carved chair stands tall, back straight, arms worn smooth by years of use, its cushions slightly indented, but untouched now. A silver goblet reflects the dying fire in soft flickers. Light bends across its curved surface. Rain taps steadily against the narrow windows. Water gathers on the stone ledges and drips to the floor below. Small dark circles form and slowly spread across the rushes scattered on the ground. Near the entrance, 2 guards remain at their posts. Their armour catches the faint red glow of the hearth. Metal dulled, not shining. Their spears rest upright, the iron tips dark against the ceiling beams. One guard shifts his stance slightly. Leather creaks. A soft exhale leaves his mouth, visible only for a moment in the cooling air. But even they are quieter now, the need for alertness easing as the hour grows late. Beyond the heavy doors, the courtyard rain continues, muted, distant, like a steady pulse behind stone. The hearth settles further. A log collapses inward. There is a soft cascade of ash. A small burst of sparks lifts into the chimney's dark throat. They rise, glow briefly, then vanish into shadow. The light in the hall dims another shade. Shadows lengthen across the floor. They stretch between table legs, across carved pillars, up the wall toward the rafters. Candles placed along the side tables burn low. Wax pooling around their bases, wicks bending under their own weight. One flickers sharply. Flame thinning, then it steadies again, not ready to disappear just yet. Footsteps echo faintly from the upper gallery. A servant crossing towards sleeping quarters. The sound is soft, measured, respectful of the hour. Then silence returns. The manor holds its breath. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The warmth of the hearth is now gentle, not reaching the far corners of the hall. Those corners sink into cool darkness. Only the central stones near the fire retain their heat. The carved pillars stand like quiet watchers, their faces half lit, half shadowed. Time feels slower here, thicker, each crackle of ember distinct, each drip of water noticeable. Another candle surrenders. Its flame dips suddenly, flares once, then thins into smoke. A curling ribbon rises upward, twists, disappears. The hall grows dimmer still. Only the hearth now provides light, soft, red, breathing lower with every passing minute. The guards glance once toward the fire, not worried. They know this rhythm. They have watched countless nights settle in the same way. Fire to ember, ember to glow, glow to memory. Rain continues beyond the stone walls, washing the banners outside, rinsing dust from the courtyard, cooling the world beyond the manor's reach. Inside, warmth fades slowly from oak tables, from stone benches, from iron sconces fixed into the walls. The great hall no longer feels like a place of gathering. It feels like a sleeping giant, still powerful, but resting. The hearth gives one final soft crack. A thin log splits quietly down its centre. The embers shift, glow briefly brighter, then settle again, lower, deeper, closer to dark. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry, and the great hall drifts toward silence. Above the great hall, narrow stone stairs curve upward along the inner wall, their surfaces worn smooth by generations of footsteps. Tonight, they hold only faint torchlight. A single wall sconce burns halfway up the stairwell, its flame small, unsteady. Each time wind presses through unseen cracks in the stone, the flame leans sideways, then straightens again. The rain outside travels down the tower walls in long quiet streams. Water slips past arrow slits, drips softly into shallow basins carved to catch it. Some drops fall free, tick, 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 measured, unrushed. At the top of the stairs, a long corridor stretches beneath a low-beam ceiling. Rushes cover the floor, muted underfoot. Doors line the stone walls, heavy oak, iron-latched. Most are already closed. From behind one door comes the faint murmur of a servant settling into sleep. Fabric shifting. A quiet sigh, then nothing more. Further down the corridor, a narrow window looks out over the courtyard. Rain streaks across the open arch. Wind carries a fine mist inside. The stone sill glistens in dim torchlight. Beyond it, the courtyard lanterns burn low. Their reflections tremble in standing water. In the Lord's private chamber, a smaller hearth glows faintly. Here the fire was not built large, just enough to warm the room before sleep. The bed stands tall against the inner wall, posts carved with simple designs, a canopy above, its fabric hanging still in the heavy air. Thick wool blankets lie folded back, already disturbed. The Lord sleeps beneath them, breathing deep, even, not troubled. His boots rest beside the bed, polished earlier in the evening, now dull in fading light. A small table holds a candle burned nearly to its base, wax hardened along the sides. The flame trembles gently, growing shorter, shorter. Across the chamber, a chest sits at the foot of the bed, iron corners dark with age. It reflects a faint amber glow from the hearth, but that glow is shrinking. In the far corner, a tapestry hangs depicting distant hills and forests, its colours muted in near darkness. The fabric lifts slightly as wind finds a narrow path through the stonework, a slow ripple, then stillness again. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. In another chamber, the lady of the manor sleeps lightly. A small brazier near her bedside holds a few dim coals. They pulse faintly red beneath thin ash. Her breathing matches the rhythm of rain against the walls. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. A wooden shutter taps softly in the wind, just once, then settles. Down the corridor, the wall sconce flame falters, its oil nearly gone. The flame stretches thin, flickers sharply. For a moment it burns brighter than before, then lowers again. In the stairwell, shadows climb higher. Stone steps fade into darkness from the top down. The great hall below now receives almost no light from above. Only the faintest ember glow remains at its heart. The guards near the entrance shift one last time. One leans slightly against the wall, not sleeping, but resting within wakefulness. Rainwater continues to slide from roof edges, dripping into the courtyard in steady patterns. The banner outside clings heavy against stone, unmoving, satisfied with the storm. Inside the upper chamber, the final candle in the Lord's room surrenders. The wick bends, the flame flutters. A small curl of smoke rises gently into the dark and disappears. Now only the hearth's final ember remains, a soft red eye in the corner of the room, watching, breathing faintly, then dimming. Stone walls hold the day's warmth for a little longer, but even that warmth thins. The air grows cooler, heavier, quieter. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Across the manor, doors remain closed, voices are gone, footsteps ended, even the horses in the stables have stopped shifting. The entire structure feels rooted into the earth, solid, ancient, calm. The ember in the Lord's chamber fades from red to dull orange, to a barely visible glow, then to black. No light remains in the upper floors, only darkness shaped by stone, only rain shaping the night. The manor sleeps fully now, from its highest chamber to its deepest foundation. The storm does not disturb it. It does not threaten. It simply exists, a rhythm against walls that have stood for centuries. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And above the quiet village, the great manor rests in complete stillness. Beyond the last cottage, beyond the final stone wall, beyond the narrow path worn by carts and boots, the forest begins, not suddenly, not sharply, but gradually. Grass grows taller, bushes thicken, trees stand closer together, and the rain changes its voice. In the village, rain struck rooftops, stone, wood, shutters. Here it falls into leaves, into branches, into moss. The sound softens, becomes layered, complex, alive. At the forest edge, tall oaks stand like silent guardians, their trunks darkened by rain. Water runs in slow streams along their bark, collecting in grooves carved by decades of seasons. Low branches hang heavy with wet leaves. Occasionally one droops too far. A gathered pool of water releases at once, spilling downward in a soft cascade. The earth here smells richer. Damp soil, crushed leaves, wet bark. The scent rises with every drop that lands. The narrow footpath entering the forest has turned to soft mud. Boot prints from earlier in the day are half filled with rainwater now. Small reflections tremble in each shallow impression. A rabbit's tracks near the edge have already blurred, edges dissolving, memory fading. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Further inside, the canopy thickens. Branches weave together overhead. Rain filters through in uneven rhythms. Some drops strike directly. Others gather along leaves for long moments before falling. Tick, drip, slide. A slow conversation between sky and earth. A fallen log lies near the path, its surface slick and dark. Mushrooms cluster along its side, their pale caps shining faintly in dim light. Water gathers at their edges and drops gently to the moss below. Moss blankets stones like deep green velvet. It drinks deeply tonight, absorbing water without protest, without sound. Tiny rivulets form between tree roots. They move carefully downhill, finding old channels carved by countless storms before this one. No rush, no urgency, just quiet persistence. Deeper in the forest, wind barely moves. The trees stand tall and steady, only their highest branches sway slightly. And even that movement is slow, measured. An owl perches beneath a thick branch, feathers damp at the tips, eyes half closed. It does not hunt tonight. The rain is too steady, too thick. Instead, it waits, breathing quietly, listening to the layered sounds of water. Somewhere further in, a deer shifts beneath a cluster of fir trees, its coat darkened by rain, steam no longer rising from its back, now simply still, safe within shadow. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A shallow pond rests between two large stones, its surface once calm, now alive with small circular ripples, each drop creating its own world for a moment, then fading into another. The pond reflects almost nothing tonight. The canopy blocks the sky. Only dark shapes ripple across its surface. Roots twist across the forest floor like quiet veins. Water follows their curves, gathering briefly, then slipping onward. Somewhere far beyond sight, thunder murmurs again, muted by trees, softened by distance. It rolls through branches like a low breath, not threatening, just present. An old stump near the centre, clearing collects rain in its hollow core. Water fills slowly, climbing, rising, waiting for overflow. A spider web stretches between two thin branches. Rain has transformed it. No longer invisible, now outlined in droplets, each thread carrying a line of shining beads. The web sags slightly under weight, but holds, strong, patient. The forest does not resist the rain. It absorbs it, welcomes it, needs it. Leaves tremble gently as water lands upon them. Some bend, some shed their burden quickly, others hold it longer, everything responding in its own quiet way. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. At the forest's deeper edge, where the path disappears entirely, darkness thickens. Light from the village no longer reaches here. Only the soft grey of stormlit sky filters through, and even that fades as clouds shift. The forest becomes a world unto itself, a closed, breathing space, alive in stillness. The ground grows softer further in, pine needles layered thick across soil. Each step here would be nearly silent, but tonight no one walks, no carts roll, no torches flicker, only rain moves, only water speaks. A small stream at the forest's heart begins to swell, its gentle trickle now stronger. Water flows around stones with more confidence, more depth, still calm but fuller. The banks darken, mud loosens, grass leans closer to its edge. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And beyond the sleeping village, the forest drinks deeply, growing heavier, richer, more alive in darkness. Further inside the forest, the trees stand closer together. Their trunks rise like pillars in a vast shadowed hall. Branches weave overhead into a dense canopy. Rain does not fall straight here. It wanders, it hesitates. It gathers along needles and leaves, then releases itself in uneven rhythms. A drop lands, then another, then a small cluster at once. The sound is layered and soft, never sharp, never hurried. The ground is darker here, thick with pine needles and fallen leaves, each one swollen slightly with water. When rain touches them, they do not splash. They absorb. They yield. They settle deeper into earth. A narrow animal trail curves between the trunks, barely visible now, edges blurred by moisture. Water collects in its shallow depressions, forming thin reflective lines that mirror nothing but shadow. A large fir tree stands at the centre of a small clearing. Its branches droop under the weight of rain. Water gathers at the tips, stretching into trembling droplets. Each one clings for a moment, suspended, then falls quietly to the moss below. The moss here is thick and luminous in the dim grey light. It swells gently with every passing minute. Tiny beads of water rest upon its surface, like a field of still stars pressed close to earth. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Beneath a fallen cedar trunk, small creatures wait out the storm. A hedgehog curled tight, breathing slow. A pair of field mice nestled into dry pockets between roots. Their whiskers twitch once, then grow still again. Even the insects are quiet tonight. No hum of wings, no restless movement. Only the occasional drip finding a hollow space. Deeper still, the small stream that once whispered now speaks more clearly. Water flows stronger between its banks. It curls around smooth stones, glides over submerged branches, and slips through narrow bends with soft persistence. Not roaring, not rushing, just fuller. A leaf breaks free from a low branch. It falls into the stream without sound, turns once in the current, then drifts out of sight. Tree trunks glisten faintly where rain reaches them. In places where bark has split, water traces thin vertical paths downward, following grooves carved by age. At the base of one ancient oak, a hollow has formed over many years. Tonight it fills slowly with collected rain. The surface trembles with each new drop. Circular ripples intersect gently, then smooth again. The forest air feels cooler now, heavier. Mist begins to gather closer to the ground. Not thick, just a faint veil rising from soaked earth. It curls low around roots and stones, moving almost invisibly. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Somewhere above, an owl shifts its footing along a high branch. Feathers brush damp wood. It blinks once into the darkness, but makes no call. The forest does not need sound tonight. The storm provides its own steady rhythm. A cluster of birch trees stands together near a shallow slope, their pale bark streaked darker by water. Droplets slide downward in fine lines. At their base, mushrooms push up through soft soil, caps shining, stems firm. They drink deeply from the soaked ground. Further down slope, water gathers momentum. It forms a narrow ribbon flowing toward the main stream. Small pebbles shift beneath its path. Tiny fragments of bark drift along its surface, all moving slowly, unforced. The forest floor is no longer dry anywhere. Every root is damp, every fallen branch slick. Even the air carries moisture against skin and fur. If someone stood here, they would feel the rain not only on their shoulders but in their breath, in the space between trees, in the weight of the night. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Thunder murmurs again, more distant now, barely a vibration. The trees do not tremble. They have heard far greater storms. Wind does not press hard tonight. Only a faint movement passes high above. Lower branches remain nearly still. Water drops vertically from leaf to earth, uninterrupted. In a deeper hollow of the forest, a small pond expands quietly. What was once a modest pool now reaches further into surrounding grass. Blades bend beneath the new waterline. Surface ripples widen and overlap, soft circles touching other soft circles. No splash, no urgency, just slow expansion. The sky above is unseen here, hidden entirely by layered branches, yet the forest senses the storm, responds to it, absorbs it, lives through it. At the heart of this dark woodland, time feels slower than in the village, slower than within stone walls, slower than beside cooling embers. There's no human measure here, only cycles of rain and root, water and soil, growth and decay. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And deep within the forest, everything listens, everything drinks, everything rests within the rhythm of the storm. Part 3. The Heart of the Woodland. At the deepest part of the forest, where even the faintest path has long disappeared, the trees grow older, thicker, more patient. Their trunks twist slightly with age. Their roots rise from the earth like slow waves frozen in motion. Here the rain does not feel like weather, it feels like memory. Water has fallen here for centuries, into the same soil, across the same stones, through the same branches. Tonight is simply another quiet chapter. A towering oak stands at the centre of a wide hollow, its bark deeply ridged, dark with the rain. Water collects in the long channels of its surface and travels downward in thin streams. At the base, its roots form small archways of shelter. Within one, the earth remains slightly drier, protected, still. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A thin mist hovers low to the ground. It drifts between tree trunks like a soft breath. Not thick enough to hide anything, just enough to soften edges, to blur distance, to quiet the space between things. The stream that began as a whisper near the forest edge now moves confidently through the hollow, its surface no longer broken only by droplets, but by gentle current. It bends around fallen branches, carries leaves, lifts small twigs, then sets them down again. Its voice is calm, consistent, an unbroken murmur beneath the rain. Above the hollow, branches interlace so tightly that the sky is almost completely hidden. Only faint grey light filters through. Each drop that finds its way past the canopy falls deliberately, measured, sometimes striking a leaf halfway down, splitting into two smaller drops, continuing their descent separately. A family of small frogs gathers along the widening edge of a shallow pool, their skin dark and shining. They do not leap tonight. They simply remain, breathing softly, eyes open, watching nothing in particular, listening to everything. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Further back, beneath a leaning elm, an old stump has become a basin of water. It is now full, the surface level with the rim. Each new drop creates overlapping ripples that gently tap against the wooden edge. When one drop lands near the centre, the ripples travel outward, touch the boundary and return inward again. A quiet, endless exchange. Moss along nearby stones has grown heavier, saturated, its surface darker now than at dusk. If touched, it would release cool water between fingers, but no hand disturbs it. No step presses here tonight. Only the forest and the storm exist together. An owl finally lifts from its branch, not to hunt, just to shift. Wings spread wide, feathers catch in faint moisture. It glides silently to another tree deeper in shadow, perches, settles, folds into itself again. Movement without urgency. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A fallen pine cone drifts into the stream, turns slowly in the current, bumps gently against a rock, then lodges there. Water flows around it, splitting and rejoining downstream. The stream grows just slightly louder, not louder in force, but fuller in presence, more certain. Its banks expand by inches. Grass at the edge leans beneath the waterline, but does not break. It adapts. The mist near the ground thickens briefly, then thins again as cool air shifts. The forest breathes in cycles almost invisible to the eye. Roots drink deeply. Leaves sag further. Branches release their stored weight. Everywhere water moves downward, always downward, finding soil, finding depth, finding rest. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Far beyond this hollow, beyond the stream, beyond the edge where trees thin again toward fields, the village sleeps. The baker beneath wool blankets, the blacksmith beside a silent forge, the lord in stone-walled chambers, all unaware of how deeply the forest drinks tonight, how fully the earth accepts the sky's offering. In the hollow, a large stone rests beside the stream, its surface smooth from years of water passing over it. Tonight the flow reaches halfway up its side, not dangerous, not wild, just persistent, a quiet claiming. Above, clouds move unseen across the sky, heavy, layered, yet gentle in their release. No lightning splits the darkness, no violent wind bends the trees, only rain, only patience. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. In the deepest pocket of the woodland, darkness becomes complete, not frightening, not empty, just whole. Complete night, complete rain, complete stillness. Water fills hollows, roots anchor deeper into softened soil. Seeds tucked beneath leaves swell quietly with new life. What seems like silence is actually growth, preparation, becoming. The storm is not destruction here. It is nourishment. The forest does not resist. It does not retreat. It receives, and in receiving, it strengthens. The stream curves away from the hollow, carrying its gathered rain toward the lower lands, toward fields, toward the river beyond. Everything connected, everything flowing. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And at the very heart of the woodland, beneath ancient branches beside the steady stream, the forest rests in full communion with the storm. No firelight, no human voice, no iron or stone, only earth, only water, only the endless patient rhythm of rain. Where the stream becomes river, beyond the forest hollow, beyond the twisting stream that gathered rain between roots and stones, the land lowers gently, the ground softens further, grass gives way to reeds, the quiet stream, no longer narrow, begins to widen. Its banks stretch outward by careful inches. Its voice grows deeper, still calm, still measured, but fuller now. Rain continues to fall across its surface, each drop creating a brief silver crown before dissolving into the current. The water here is darker than in the forest, reflecting more sky than branch. Clouds drift above unseen, but their weight presses softly upon the river's skin. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Along the river bank, tall reeds bend under the combined weight of water and night. Droplets gather along their thin blades, sliding downward in quiet lines. Some fall into the river, some drop into mud below. The mud is thick now, rich and heavy. It holds the prints of animals who visited earlier at dusk, a fox, a heron, a stray dog from the village. But the edges of those tracks soften with each passing minute. Rain smooths memory. Rain reshapes the ground. The river curves gently around a broad stone near its centre. Water presses against the rock, splits, and rejoins on the other side. A quiet negotiation between force and stillness. The surface is textured now, not rough, but layered with countless small ripples. Each raindrop writes its own brief story. Each story vanishes immediately. Further downstream, the river widens again, its far bank barely visible in darkness. Low branches from willow trees hang close to the surface. Their thin leaves trail in the current, dragging lightly, swaying with every subtle shift. Rain taps against them like soft fingers. The sound blends into the low murmur of moving water. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A wooden footbridge crosses the river near a shallow bend. Simple construction, thick planks laid across stone supports. Tonight it stands empty. Water darkens the wood, each plank slick and shining faintly. Droplets fall from its underside into the swelling current below. Tap, tap, tap. Beneath the bridge the river deepens slightly. The sound changes there. A lower tone, a more resonant hum, but never loud, never violent, just certain. The steady accumulation of rain from forest and field begins to show. The river is no longer a narrow path of water. It has presence now, weight, confidence, still calm, but undeniably growing. Along the banks, grasses bow close to the surface, some partially submerged already, their tips barely visible above the dark flow. Small clumps of earth loosen and slip quietly into the river, not collapsing, just yielding, allowing the water to pass. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. In the shallows near the bend, tiny fish hold themselves against the current, barely moving, their bodies silver in brief flashes when lightning flickers far beyond the hills. The flash is distant, muted by cloud and rain, more glow than strike, then darkness again. The river does not react, it simply continues. A floating branch drifts past the footbridge, turning slowly, carried by the increased flow. It brushes against a support beam, pauses for a moment, then frees itself and moves on. Everything moves, but nothing rushes. Further down, the riverbank rises slightly. A cluster of old stones marks where villagers sometimes sit during dry days. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The river accepts everything brought to it: forest runoff, loose leaves, tiny fragments of bark, silt from softened ground. It carries them without judgment, without pause, downward, always downward, toward lands unseen beyond the village boundary. Above, clouds remain thick. The air is cool and saturated. Breathing near the river would feel heavier, full of mist and moving water. But there is no one here to breathe it. The footbridge creaks faintly once as a stronger gust brushes across it, wood adjusting to moisture, then still again. The river presses gently against its banks, testing, not breaking, just measuring. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And where the forest's whispering stream became something larger, the river now moves through the night with quiet strength, growing, deepening, becoming more than it was at dusk. Further beyond the wooden footbridge, the river begins to stretch outward into a broader channel. Its banks slope lower here. The earth is softer. Reeds thin out and give way to long grasses that bend almost flat beneath the steady rain. Water no longer moves only between clear edges. It spreads gently into shallow margins, not flooding, not rushing, just expanding. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The surface of the river looks darker now, heavier. The countless ripples from falling drops overlap in layered patterns. No single circle lasts long. Each one touches another before fading. The whole river seems to shimmer with quiet movement. Near the centre of the current, the water flows with deeper intention. Below the surface, invisible currents slide past one another, cool rainwater mixing with the older flow from upstream. The river carries the forest within it now. Tiny particles of soil, shredded leaves, fragments of bark softened by storm, all suspended in patient motion. Along the right bank, a willow tree leans close. Its trunk curves outward over the water, roots gripping soil that grows looser with each passing minute. Rain trails down its bark in narrow paths. Some drops reach the hanging leaves. Some fall directly into the river. A few find their way into small cracks at the base of the trunk. The willow does not resist. It bends. It adjusts. It has known many rains before this one. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A low stone wall runs parallel to the river for several yards, built long ago to guide water during wetter seasons. Tonight, water presses softly against its outer edge, testing its height, sliding along the stone's uneven face. The wall holds, but the river has risen enough that its surface nearly kisses the topmost stones, only an inch below, a quiet reminder of gathering force. Further along, a small wooden rowboat is tied to a post near the bank. Its hull rests partly in water, partly against mud. Rain gathers inside the boat now, a shallow pool forming between its ribs. Each drop creates soft tapping echoes within the wooden shell. The rope holding it creaks occasionally as the current nudges it from below. The boat shifts slightly, forward, back, forward again. Never far. Just enough to acknowledge the river's presence. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A heron stands near the shallow edge, though it does not hunt tonight. Water has blurred its reflection. The fish beneath are harder to see. Instead, the bird remains still, neck tucked slightly inward, feathers damp but ordered. It waits without expectation. Thunder murmurs again in the distance, a little closer this time, still soft, still rounded by cloud. The sound rolls across the water, spreads wide, then dissolves into the rain's steady rhythm. No lightning splits the sky, only faint flashes hidden behind thick clouds, barely illuminating the river's broad surface. In those brief glows, the water appears almost silver, then black again. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Downstream, the river makes a slow bend around a grassy peninsula. Water moves more strongly there, gathering speed where the channel narrows briefly. The surface tightens, lines of current become more visible, still calm, but purposeful. At the edge of the bend, clumps of grass lean fully into the flow. Their tips disappear beneath the surface, re-emerging only when the current slackens slightly. Mud loosens at their roots. Tiny fragments drift away unnoticed. The river accepts them all. Near the boat, the water level has climbed just enough to cover a stone that stood exposed at dusk. Now it lies beneath a thin sheet of moving current, invisible to any eye, only felt by the shift in water's path. Everything is gradual, nothing sudden. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Mist begins to rise faintly where cooler air meets the slightly warmer surface of the river. It clings low over the water, a soft veil moving with the current. Edges of trees on the far bank blur slightly. Distance shortens. The world becomes contained within this stretch of flowing darkness. The rowboat shifts once more. Rainwater inside it now deep enough to reflect faint light from the sky. Each drop striking its surface echoes gently inside the hull. A hollow rhythm within the larger rhythm of rain. The rope strains softly, but holds. The river presses a little higher against the stone wall. Not over, not yet, just close, measured, watching. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry, and the widening river moves through the night with calm strength, growing deeper, growing broader, yet never losing its steady patience. Further downstream, beyond the willow and the stone wall, the river opens into its widest stretch near the low meadowlands. Here, the banks no longer feel like boundaries, they feel like suggestions. The water has risen enough to touch grasses that usually stand well above its reach. Blades bend beneath the steady pressure. Some disappear entirely beneath the dark surface, not torn away, not broken, just claimed for a while. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The surface of the river is alive with countless overlapping ripples. Each drop strikes with a soft crown. Each crown collapses into widening circles. But now the river's own current reshapes those circles before they fully form. Water moves with quiet authority, deeper than before, broader than at dusk, yet still calm, still patient. The meadow beyond the bank begins to hold shallow pools where water gathers faster than the soil can drink it. Thin reflective sheets spread between tufts of grass. Tiny channels connect one puddle to another, guiding overflow gently back toward the river. Everything returns to the main current. Everything flows inward. A fallen tree rests partially submerged near the outer bend. Its branches stretch into the widening water. Current slides through its skeletal fingers. A soft humming sound forms where water meets wood, low, continuous, almost like breath. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The rowboat upstream is no longer visible from here, but its subtle shifting continues in memory. Down here the river feels more complete, more unified. Forest runoff, meadow runoff, distant hillside streams, all have joined together, no longer separate paths, one body now, one direction. A cluster of reeds near the far bank trembles as the current presses more firmly against them. Their thin stalks bow deeper. A few snap softly near the base. The sound is small, lost almost immediately beneath rainfall. Broken stems drift a short distance, then settle against the submerged meadow grass. Nothing wasted, nothing dramatic, just adjustment. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Mist thickens slightly above the river's centre, not enough to hide it, but enough to soften its edges. The far shoreline becomes less distinct. Trees appear as darker shapes against deeper grey. If someone stood at the meadow's edge, they would feel surrounded by motion and stillness at once. Water moving steadily below, rain falling steadily above, the space between filled with cool, damp air. Thunder rolls once more, longer this time, still distant, still rounded and gentle. It passes over the meadow like a heavy sigh. The river does not quicken, it does not surge. It simply continues its gradual rise. Near the outer curve of the bend, the water finally reaches the top of the old stone marker that once measured dry season depth. The stone disappears beneath a thin sheet of moving current, submerged without ceremony, an unnoticed milestone in the night's slow transformation. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Along the meadow's lower stretch, the river's edge blurs completely. Grass and water blend, reflections replace outlines. The surface becomes a wide, dark mirror trembling under rainfall. Occasionally a small bubble rises from the submerged soil beneath, air displaced by saturation. It reaches the surface, pops quietly, and vanishes. Beyond the meadow, the river will continue toward larger waters, toward valleys unseen in the night. But here, near the sleeping village, it holds its fullness with calm dignity, not destructive, not violent, simply powerful in its persistence. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. In the village above the meadow, no one hears the subtle rise. The baker sleeps beneath wool blankets. The blacksmith rests beside a cold forge. The manor stands silent on its hill, and the forest breathes in saturated darkness. Only the river remains awake in motion, carrying everything forward, accepting all that arrives, letting nothing stay forever. At the centre of this wide stretch, the current forms a slow spiral where two flows meet. A quiet turning, water folding into water, no visible boundary between sources, only unity, only direction. The meadow pools expand by another careful inch, grass yields further, but still there is no rush, no break, only gradual becoming. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Clouds remain thick overhead, the moon hidden, stars unseen, yet the darkness feels full rather than empty, complete rather than void. The river moves through that fullness with steady assurance. It has risen, it has widened, it has claimed new ground, but always gently, always patiently, always in rhythm with the falling rain. And as the storm carries on into the deep middle of the night, the river flows onward, quiet strength beneath a quiet sky, holding the village in its unseen embrace. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And the river, swollen yet calm, moves through the darkness toward dawn that has not yet begun. The church above the village roofs, above the winding river, above even the manor's stone walls. The old church stands on its quiet hill. Its stones are older than the houses below, older than the wooden bridge, older than the living memory of most who sleep tonight. Rain runs down its weathered walls in thin silver lines. Each groove between stones holds water briefly, then releases it downward toward the earth. The bell tower rises square and steady into the low clouds. No bell rings tonight. The rope inside hangs motionless, dark with age, heavy with absorbed moisture. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. The churchyard spreads around the building like a quiet sea of tilted markers, stone crosses, worn slabs, names softened by decades of wind and weather. Rain gathers in the carved letters, making them briefly clearer before washing over them again. Grass between the graves lies flattened, each blade dark and shining. Water pools gently in shallow depressions, small mirrors reflecting only cloud and falling drops. The wooden door of the church stands closed, iron hinges darkened by rust and rain. A narrow awning above it offers slight shelter, but even there droplets slip through at steady intervals. Tap, tap, tap. The sound blends with the rain striking stone. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A single lantern burns inside near the altar, its glow faint, barely visible through the narrow leaded window set high in the wall. The glass, imperfect and rippled, distorts the light. It appears as a trembling golden blur against deep grey night. Inside, the air smells of old wood and extinguished incense. Stone walls hold the memory of countless whispered prayers, of voices raised in song. Tonight, they hold only silence. Rain taps softly against the small window panes. Water trails downward along the lead lines, splitting and rejoining as it falls. The graveyard gate at the bottom of the hill creaks faintly as wind brushes against it. Not opening, not closing, just shifting slightly on its latch. Beyond it, the village path glistens under rain, empty, untravelled. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. A lone yew tree stands near the back of the churchyard, its dark branches heavy with water. Droplets fall from needle tips at irregular intervals, each drop landing softly on soaked soil below. The tree does not sway much. Wind is gentle tonight. The storm is steady rather than fierce. From this hill the river below is invisible in darkness, but its presence is felt. A low, distant hum carried upward through damp air. The church stands between river and sky, between sleeping village and open night, a quiet witness, unmoving, patient. Rain continues to trace every surface, stone, wood, iron, grass, grave. Nothing escapes its touch, yet nothing resists it. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry. Inside the bell tower, pigeons shelter beneath the beams, feathers puffed against cool air. They stir only slightly as thunder murmurs far away. The sound reaches them softened by thick walls. A distant roll, then quiet again. The lantern near the altar flickers once, its flame bending low. Oil nearly spent. Shadows lengthen along pewbacks, across the stone floor, toward the closed wooden door. Everything slows, everything softens. Above the village, above the swollen river, the old stone church remains steady in the storm, not illuminated, not grand, just present, just enduring. The rain continues to fall, slowly, steadily, without hurry, and on the quiet hill among tilted stones and flattened grass, the church keeps silent watch over the sleeping land. Now, the rain has settled into a gentler rhythm, not the loud tapping of a passing storm, but a steady, patient drizzle, the kind that seems less interested in making noise and more interested in keeping time. Inside the forge, the fire has been banked low. Thomas does not need the roaring heat tonight. He only needs enough warmth to keep the coals alive, enough to glow softly, like distant embers beneath ash. He stands near the doorway for a moment, listening. Rain on the roof, rain on the packed earth outside, rain slipping from the eaves in thin silver threads. It reminds him of another night long ago, when he was no older than 12. Back then the forge belonged to his father. The same walls, the same anvil, the same scent of iron and smoke woven into the wooden beams. On rainy nights his father would let the fire dim early. Work slowed when the roads turned to mud. Fewer travellers, fewer wagons, fewer broken tools needing repair. And on those quiet evenings, they would sit together. No grand speeches, no dramatic lessons, just the sound of the rain and the quiet companionship of shared silence. Thomas remembers the way his father would hold a small iron nail between thick fingers, turning it slowly in the firelight, explaining how even the simplest object had a story. "This nail," he once said, "will hold together something bigger than itself. A barn beam, a cartwheel, a cradle, small things, steady things, holding up entire lives." Thomas smiles faintly at the memory. He steps back toward the anvil and rests his palm on its cool surface. The metal no longer hums with heat. It feels solid, anchored. Outside, the village is quiet. Most lamps have been extinguished, curtains drawn, doors latched. Rain gives people permission to slow down. No one rushes through rain unless they must, and tonight, no one must. Thomas moves to a wooden shelf near the wall and retrieves an old iron horseshoe. It is not new, not polished, not perfect. It was one of his earliest attempts as an apprentice. The curve slightly uneven, the nail holes not perfectly spaced. His father had not scolded him. Instead, he had turned it in his hand, studying it carefully, and simply said, "It will still do its work." That was enough. Thomas runs a thumb over the rough edges now. The imperfection comforts him. Outside, a distant rumble of thunder rolls softly across the hills. Not sharp or startling, just a low murmur, like the earth shifting in its sleep. The rain grows steadier again. He walks to the doorway and watches the droplets gather along the edge of the roof, growing heavy, then falling, one by one. There is something deeply honest about rain. It does not hurry. It does not hesitate. It simply falls. In the forge, time moves differently. Iron demands patience. You cannot rush it. Heat must build slowly. The metal must soften before it bends. If struck too soon, it cracks. If struck too late, it hardens beyond shaping. Thomas has always found comfort in that rhythm. Heat, wait, strike, turn, wait again. It mirrors life more than people realize. He returns to the hearth and gently stirs the coals with a long iron rod. Sparks flicker upward, bright for a moment, then fade. He does not add more wood. The fire is meant to rest. Tonight is not about making something new. It is about remembering what already exists. He sits on the worn wooden stool near the anvil. The stool creaks softly beneath his weight, a familiar sound. Rain continues its steady lullaby overhead. Somewhere in the distance a shutter taps lightly against stone, then settles. Thomas closes his eyes for a moment. He listens deeper now, beyond the rain, beyond the faint crackle of coals. There is a rhythm beneath it all, the breathing of the village. He leans back slightly and watches the faint orange glow from the coals pulse softly. Rain drifts sideways now, carried gently by wind. It brushes against the doorway, dampening the threshold. Thomas rises to close the heavy wooden door halfway, leaving just enough space for the scent of rain to enter. The smell is rich, wet, cool stone, washed timber. And Thomas will reopen the forge doors at sunrise. But tonight, there is no tomorrow pressing against him, only the present moment. He reaches for a small kettle resting near the coals and pours a little warmed water into a tin cup, Steam curls upward lazily. He does not rush to drink it. He simply holds it, feeling the warmth seep into his palms. The rain softens again, each drop now quieter than the last, like a conversation winding down. Thomas thinks of all the tools he has forged over the years, ploughshares that turned soil for planting, nails that held roofs in place, horseshoes that carried travellers safely across miles. He has shaped metal, but metal has shaped him too. It has taught him restraint. It has taught him that force alone is not enough. Timing matters, pressure matters, patience matters. The storm that passed earlier was brief, loud, but fleeting. This rain, though, this steady drizzle, it endures, and endurance, Thomas knows, is quieter than drama. He sets the empty tin cup aside and stands once more. The coals are nearly dark now. Only a faint glow remains beneath ash. He covers them carefully, not smothering them entirely, just enough to preserve their warmth for morning. The forge grows dim, shadows stretch longer across the stone floor, rain continues, softer, softer still. Thomas takes one final look around the workshop. The anvil stands firm. The hammer rests where it belongs. The shelves are orderly, everything in its place. He steps toward the door, pausing once more to listen. Somewhere, water drips from a gutter into a barrel below, a hollow, rhythmic sound. Plink, pause, plink. It feels like a clock, marking not hours, but heartbeats. Thomas pulls the door closed gently, leaving just a narrow crack for air. The village sleeps, the rain continues, and inside the quiet forge, beneath cooling coals and resting tools, a simple peace settles in, not dramatic, not grand, just steady, like iron shaped slowly over time. The forge is almost dark now. Only the faintest ember glows beneath a thin veil of ash, like the last star lingering before dawn. Thomas stands near the doorway one final time before retiring for the night. He does not rush this moment. There is no one waiting for him. No urgent task calling his name. Just the rain. It has softened into something barely audible. A whisper against the roof tiles. A quiet brushing sound along the stone walls. The storm has passed completely. What remains is gentleness. He steps just outside the threshold, boots resting on damp earth. The village square glistens under the muted glow of a single lantern still burning near the well. Its flame trembles slightly in the moist air but refuses to go out. Rain beads along the iron ring of the well bucket. It gathers slowly, then falls, disappearing into the dark water below. Thomas inhales deeply. The air feels different after rain, washed, cleansed, as though the world has been rinsed of dust and hurry. He remembers nights when the forge was loud even after sunset, when urgent repairs demanded long hours, when a wagon wheel split before a journey, or a gate hinge snapped during harvest. On those nights the anvil rang sharp and clear beneath the hammer's rhythm. Sparks flew bright against darkness. The forge roared with purpose, but tonight carries no urgency, only stillness. He looks down at his hands, thick, calloused, scarred lightly by years of heat and labour. These hands have shaped iron into usefulness, but they have also carried simpler things. A loaf of bread home, a small bouquet of wildflowers once. Long ago, for someone who smiled in the doorway of the bakery. That was years past. Life moves quietly in small villages. People arrive, people leave. Some stories remain unfinished, like tools left half-forged on a bench. Thomas does not dwell on that thought long. Instead, he listens. Far off, an owl calls from the trees beyond the fields. The sound is low and rounded, echoing gently through damp air. Rain drips from the edge of the roof behind him in a slow, patient rhythm. Plink, plink, plink. Each drop landing in a shallow puddle at the base of the stone wall. He steps back inside and finally closes the heavy wooden door fully. The latch settles into place with a soft click. Inside, darkness deepens. But it is not an empty darkness. It is the kind that feels protective. Thomas walks carefully across the stone floor, knowing every uneven place by memory. He moves past the anvil, brushing it lightly with his fingertips as he passes. A silent good night. He reaches a small alcove near the back of the forge, where a narrow cot rests against the wall. It is simple, a wool blanket, a small pillow stuffed with straw, nothing elaborate. He sits slowly, boots still on, listening one last time to the fading rain. The coals give off a final faint warmth, enough to keep the chill away. He removes his boots and sets them neatly beside the cot. His movements are unhurried, each action deliberate, calm, practiced from countless similar nights. As he lies back, the wooden beams above him creak softly as they settle. The forge, too, is preparing to sleep. The rain thins further. Now it is little more than mist brushing the roof. Thomas closes his eyes. Images drift through his thoughts, not sharp or urgent, but soft, like reflections on water. His father's steady hands guiding his first strike on the anvil, the first horseshoe he forged without assistance. The day the village children gathered to watch sparks leap like tiny stars from heated iron. He recalls winter nights when snow fell silent and thick, blanketing the village in white stillness. Those nights carried a different quiet, deeper, heavier. But rain. Rain is lighter. Rain speaks. It murmurs along rooftops and windows, taps gently against shutters, hums along gutters and stone paths. It feels companionable. The owl calls once more, farther away now. Thomas breathes slowly, in and out. The scent of cooled iron lingers in the air, mixed faintly with damp earth drifting through unseen cracks in the doorframe. Somewhere beyond the walls, water flows along the narrow roadside ditch, guided by gravity toward the river beyond the fields. Tomorrow that river will run slightly fuller. Fields will drink, wells will rise, grass will brighten. Life sustained quietly by something as simple as falling rain. Thomas shifts slightly beneath the wool blanket. It is heavy enough to comfort, light enough not to burden. He thinks briefly of the lantern near the well outside, whether its flame still holds, whether it too has surrendered to sleep. It does not matter. Morning will come regardless. The forge will wake again. Hammer will meet iron. The village sleeps undisturbed. The forge stands silent and steady at the square's edge, and within its stone walls, the blacksmith rests. No grand ending, no dramatic conclusion, just the simple comfort of a day completed, a storm past, and a quiet night wrapping itself around wood and stone and iron alike. If you listen closely, you might still hear a single drop fall from the eaves, soft, measured, patient, then nothing but stillness. And in that stillness, sleep comes gently. The night has fully settled now. The rain has stopped. Clouds drift apart in slow silence, revealing a pale wash of stars above the sleeping village. The air feels freshly washed, cool and tender against stone and timber. Inside the forge, Thomas sleeps deeply. His breathing is steady, unhurried, in rhythm with the calm that surrounds him. The tools rest where they were left. The anvil stands patient and still. The hearth is dark, holding only memory of warmth. Outside, a thin mist lingers over the square. It curls low along the ground like a soft blanket, moving slowly between the well and the old oak tree at the edge of the road. Time passes quietly. No bells ring, no doors open, no footsteps cross the square. Only the subtle turning of the earth toward morning. A faint grey begins to gather along the horizon beyond the fields. Not bright enough to be called dawn, just a gentle softening of the darkness. The village begins to stir in the smallest ways. A rooster shifts in its sleep before offering a hesitant call. A shutter creaks as wood adjusts to the cooler air. Somewhere a horse stamps lightly inside its stable. Inside the forge, Thomas opens his eyes slowly. He does not rise immediately. He lies still for a moment, listening. There is no rain now, only the calm that follows it. He draws a slow breath and sits up on the edge of the cot. The room is dim but no longer black. A faint silver light filters through the cracks in the doorframe. He stands, pulls on his boots and walks toward the hearth. With practiced hands, he brushes aside the ash covering last night's coals. For a moment it appears as though the fire has completely died. Then, a faint red glow reveals itself beneath the grey. Small, quiet, but alive. Thomas nods slightly. He kneels and adds a few thin strips of dry wood. He waits, no rushing. The wood catches slowly. A small curl of smoke rises, then a flicker, then a steady, gentle flame. The forge breathes again. He walks to the door and lifts the latch. As he opens it, the cool morning air enters in a slow wave. The square outside gleams with dampness, reflecting the early light like brushed silver. Puddles remain in shallow places. The well bucket drips occasionally. The lantern near the well has gone out, its wick dark and resting. Thomas steps outside and looks upward. The sky's clearing. The last of the clouds drift lazily toward the hills. The air smells of wet earth and new beginnings. Rain has done its work. He takes a few slow steps into the square, boots pressing softly into damp ground. He notices how clean everything feels. The cobblestones washed free of dust. The leaves on the oak tree glistening with tiny droplets. The rooftops shining faintly under growing light. Soon the village will wake fully. The baker will light her ovens. The shepherd will guide his flock toward the hills. A cart will creak along the road. Life will resume its steady rhythm. But for now there is still a fragile quiet, that delicate space between night and day. Thomas stands in it peacefully. He does not think of years ahead. He does not dwell on years past. He simply stands, breathing in cool air, feeling the quiet strength of another day beginning. The forge behind him warms gradually. The first real flames of morning flicker inside, ready to meet iron once more. He turns and steps back through the doorway. There is work to do. There is always work to do, but it will begin slowly. He sets a kettle near the fire. He arranges his tools with familiar care. He rests his palm briefly on the anvil, grounding himself in its steady presence. Outside, the rooster calls again, louder this time. A window opens somewhere across the square. A new day arrives, not with noise, but with quiet certainty. Thomas lifts his hammer, not to strike yet, but simply to feel its weight in his hand, solid, balanced, reliable, like the rain that passed in the night, like the village that sleeps and wakes around him, like the forge that cools and burns again with each passing day. He places the hammer back down. The story does not end with a grand event. It ends with something simpler. A man, a forge, a village washed clean by rain. Morning light grows stronger, touching stone walls and wooden beams with gold. And somewhere, in the quiet rhythm between fire and rainfall, between labour and rest, Between night and dawn, peace remains, steady, enduring, soft as the memory of rain on a rooftop. And as the first clear strike of hammer meets iron in the fresh morning air, calm and measured, the village is fully awake. The rain is only a memory, and the blacksmith's quiet life continues, unhurried, unbroken, at rest within its own steady rhythm, the end.